Hello once again, my name is Skylar and I am one of the senior producers for Mountaineer Media, and this is another video in our video tutorial series. Today we're going to learn about visual composition. If you're a film student, or if you've ever watched a movie and then seen the credits at the end, you've probably heard of the position director of photography. The director of photography, who is also known as the cinematographer, is the one who is in charge of taking what the director wants in their scene and then making it look visually appealing, making it look sexy. It is a creative job, but it requires that that person knows visual composition. Visual composition itself is something that art students in all disciplines study extensively, because visual composition you can think of as what makes a shot, or what makes any visual medium look good. So today, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna drive around Gunnison, and I have a little checklist, and we're going to find examples of compositional rules, and I'm going to show you what those look like so that as a film student or as someone who wants to better their filmmaking, you can incorporate the same elements into your own projects, your own things. So, let's go. Let's begin with rule of thirds, something that most people have heard of. Rule of thirds is where you frame your shot in accordance with the intersectional points that come from dividing the frame into thirds both horizontally and vertically. Traditionally, it's also used to place your foreground, middle ground, and background into these thirds. Rule of thirds also applies to where we place our subject, though. It's usually considered best to not place the subject in the dead center of your shot. Instead, offset it so that it's in one or multiple of those intersectional points. Rule of thirds provides balance to your shot, and the eye of your audience often falls to those intersectional points, making those areas good for placing your subject into. Next, let's talk about framing. Framing is when you use elements in the shot to isolate subjects or scenes. These elements can be artificial, like a side view mirror, or natural, like the branches of a tree. You can also use framing to provide context to your shot. Leading lines is another important element of composition. We use leading lines to draw our viewers into the frame. The cliché or stereotypical example of leading lines are train tracks, but most any parallel lines that lead into a frame work. Something you may notice as your eyes are drawn into the frame by leading lines is that repeating elements that are closer to the camera appear larger than they do as they become further away. That is its own compositional element called foreshortening. Here is an example of foreshortening. Notice how the pillars are all roughly the same size but appear smaller as they come further away from the camera. You can use foreshortening to emphasize scale or draw your audience into the frame. The stereotypical example of foreshortening is cars in a for sale lot. In the way leading lines draw one's eye into a frame, the SCurve does the same thing. As audience members, we naturally find our eyes following these phenomena into the frame. As a filmmaker, you can use this to your advantage. These are some of the most important compositional elements that you should know, but there are several others. It's also important to note that these are rules, and rules are meant to be broken. However, it's easiest to break the rules once you have a better understanding of what they are and how to implement them into your frame. If you want to learn more of these, here's a list for you to look up. Thanks for watching.